What's going on, guys, and welcome back to the Crack a Pack series. Today we are opening up a pack of Shards of Alara. This is not something that we get to open very often on this series, but I am very excited about it. This is not also a set that I have actually gotten to play with. I did play just casually during this time, but I didn't draft or do anything like that. So I'm going to do the best I can to actually get through and tell you what our first pack one, pick one, reasonable pack one, pick one would actually be. But full disclosure, I do not know this set super well. All I know is it is about the shards, so obviously 3-color is kind of the idea, so I will have that in mind as I go through. Our first card here is Excommunicate. It's 2 and a white for a sorcery. Put target creature on top of its owner's library. This is actually a really good card in my opinion. For 3 mana, basically taking your opponent off of a turn is essentially what this card does, and that's really efficient. So if you don't know, abilities like this tend to be really powerful and limited, because not only are you taking a creature off of the field that now they have to replay if they want the value of the creature, and it also takes them off of a draw because they're drawing the top card of their deck, which obviously in this case is just going to be that creature. So it is actually a really powerful effect. To get it for only 3 mana, and weirdly in white, seems really good. So I do like this card quite a lot. Bane, Wasp, Affliction is an enchant creature for 1 and a black. When the enchanted creature is put into a graveyard, that creature's controller loses life equal to its toughness. So not a huge fan of this, unfortunately. Yes, it's like it's a good effect to have on a creature, but it's not worth a card slot in my opinion. So this is basically like a win more card. It's basically like, okay, if I'm going to destroy your creature, let me also give a bonus of some life, some dealt damage in that process, but that doesn't really seem worth it to me. It just seems like a kind of a trap card almost. It's like, this isn't really all that good, so not for me. Jungle Weaver is a 5/6 for 5 and 2 green. It has reach and it also has cycling, so you can pay to discard it and then draw a card. Cycling is a really great ability to have, especially in limited, because it does give playability to cards at different points in the game. So obviously at turn 2, if maybe you're short on a land drop or something like that, it might be good to go ahead and cycle this. That way you can just hit your land drop and keep continuing on, furthering your game plan, things like that. Whereas it's also obviously really good on turn 7, as it is just a big swinging bomb as a 5/6 reacher. It's going to be able to deal some damage. So I actually like this card quite a lot. It's probably better than Excommunicate if I had to guess. But again, I could be wrong on this. This is a little bit of a speculative decision just because I don't know the set super well. Hinging Guana is a 3/1 for 2 and a red. Whenever another creature is put into a graveyard from play, you may have it deal 1 damage to target player. So essentially this is a pinger. This is actually, I think, into a graveyard from play. I think that's pretty good in a red deck win style deck, which is where I would imagine this goes. I don't know how viable that is, being a 3-color strategy, generally speaking, in Shards of Alara. And so I might be wrong in saying this is actually a really good pick, but it does seem like a decent 3-drop. Obviously it dies pretty easily, so there is that to worry about, but anytime another creature is put into the graveyard from play, not even just your own, but any creature, but obviously you're going to be filling the board with, if you're in a red deck win style deck, just a bunch of really cheap dudes that are probably going to die, so why not get extra value off of it? So I do like that. I think the Jungle Weaver is just kind of a more solid pick. It leaves you a little more open, so I think for now I'm going to stick with that. Bloodpire Elemental is a 4/1 for 4 and a red. You can sacrifice it and it deals 4 damage to target creature. You can play this ability only at a time you could play a sorcery. So this is essentially a big removal spell on a stick, if you will. I do not like, actually, that you have to do this as a sorcery. It means you can't sack it in response, which is where I feel like you would actually want to be sacking, not just as a sorcery on your main phase. So I'm actually not a big fan of this card. I think this is quite bad. Guardians of Akraza, I hope I'm saying that correctly, is a 0/4 for 2 and a white. It has Defender, but it also has Exalted, so whenever a creature you control attacks alone, that creature gets +1/+1 until the end of a turn, so it actually does kind of encourage aggression from a singular creature, kind of a Voltron strategy if you're a commander player. I don't really like this card, though it's fine. In a creature light deck, I think a card like this is actually okay, because if you've just got one flyer kind of pinging in the air a lot, a card like this is actually going to boost that card quite a bit, and it's also going to protect you. So in those kind of strategies, I think it's okay, but this is much more of a late pick in my opinion, so I'm not a huge fan. Agony Warp is an instant for a blue and a black. Target creature gets -3/-0 until end of turn, and a target creature gets -0/-3 until end of turn. So you actually can choose 2 separate targets for this, which does make this much more flexible. I really, really like this card. Removal is great. And in this case, being able to nullify maybe an attacker and also take out a second attacker, or just kind of swing combat in your favor. You could do so many things with this, and so I really, really like this card quite a lot. I think this is premium common removal for sure. Again, I don't know the set super well, that is a bit of a guess, but this seems really, really good. So I do like this card. I'm going to keep this with Jungle Weaver for now, but we will see when we get to the end of the pack. Hindering Light is white and a blue for an instant. Counter target spell that targets you or a permanent you control and also draw a card. This is okay, not great. I don't really like cards like this. You're probably going to find a reason to want this in limited, but it is going to be, it has to be something targeting either a creature you control or you, or excuse me, a permanent you control or you. And so I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of it. I do like that it replaces itself. I think that's fine. In a control deck, you'd probably want it, but it is not a reason to be in a control deck. Therefore, I would not first pick it. While Naqada is a 1/1 for 1 green, very good modern card actually. It gets +1/+1 as long as you control a mountain, and it also gets +1/+1 as long as you control a plains. So here we can really see the shards at work. In this case, this is the Naya clan basically, and so this is red, green, and white. And this is a card that really, really benefits from all 3 of those colors. It's really encouraging you to play all 3, which is what this whole set in, I guess, this block is actually about. So I really like this card. It's a powerful card, in fact, as a 1/1 for 1. It's already just kind of on par, but theoretically it could be a 3/3 for 1, which seems great. So it is actually really, really good. More constructive viable than limited, I would say, though I'm again kind of to the extent this is a 3-color kind of strategy, so I feel like it'd be pretty easy to actually get into all 3 colors. I wouldn't necessarily first pick this though. I think we've got a couple better options so far. Vivien Stinger is a 0/1 for 2 and a red. You can tap it and it deals 1 damage to target creature or player. You can also unearth it for 1 and a red. So return this card from your graveyard to play. It gains haste, and then you remove it from the game at the end of the turn if it would leave play. And then unearth only as a sorcery. This is a really interesting mechanic, unearth. It's a really, really powerful one, in fact. We do see it occasionally in things like Dredge with just some hasty kind of swingy in effects, but it is really, really powerful. Pingers are notoriously great in limited because you don't actually have to attack to make them good, and attacking is generally where most of your damage is going to come from. So I really like this card. I am going to keep it in this little pile for now. Rock's Warmonk is a 3/4 with lifelink for green, a white, and a blue. This is the Bant shard. And actually this is a pretty good card. Obviously it's going to be a little bit tricky to play, but a 3/4 lifelinker for 3 is obviously great if you've got the mana to fix for it. So I would probably not first pick this. I don't know how great the fixing is in this actual like limited environment. I would imagine it's pretty good, but being the player that has not played Shards of Alara draft, I would probably hold off on a card like this. Rockcaster Platoon, excuse me, is a 5/7 for 7, and you can pay 4 and a green, and it deals 2 damage to each creature with flying and each player. That's a very powerful ability. It's one that I really like as well. It's 2 colors, so it's not pigeonholing you too much, but it does kind of give you some direction, obviously. Normally it's better to not take gold cards early on just because you don't want to pigeonhole yourself. This obviously not technically a gold card, but it does have 2 colors on it, kind of throwing it in that same category. That being said, that's a really powerful ability. A 5/7 for 7 though, kind of wish it had a little more power, but it is still a bomb, I would say. I'm going to keep it here again for now. We'll revisit as we go. Topin Ascetic, 2/2 for 2 and a green. Tap an untapped creature you control, and it gets +1/+1 until end of turn. This seems like just an okay 3-drop. Not super exciting in comparison to the other stuff that we've already got. And then our rare is Sigil of Distinction. So it's an X cast costing artifact. I hope I said that correctly. It's an equipment. When it comes into play with X charge counters on it, the equipped creature gets +1/+1 for each charge counter on Sigil of Distinction, and you can equip by removing a charge counter from Sigil of Distinction. I actually kind of like that. So this is a really interesting thing. Also, we do not have a foil or anything like that, so I'll go ahead and just talk about this. So here's the thing about this. Normally I hate things like this. So equipments, enchant creatures, things like that are just buffs to creatures and stuff. Generally not my favorite thing. However, equipments get an edge above enchant creatures for a very easy reason, which is they stick around even if the creature does not. So you're not getting 2 for 1 every time one of your enchant creatures dies. Obviously you are. An equipped creature is not, because you keep the equipment around. This is a very interesting one in that it's self-destructing in a little weird way, because to power up your creature, you have to remove a counter, which doesn't power it up quite as much, but it is a scalable effect and it goes in any deck. In a 3-color set, that seems very, very ideal. Also, it makes any one of your creatures a threat, and it's very easy to equip. You're not having to sink mana into it. So, for all of these reasons, I'm gonna pick this as my pack 1 pick one. I think we got an actual pretty good pack. I think there's a number of cards in here that I would actually really, really like, but Sigil of Distinction is gonna be my pack 1 pick one. So if you disagree with me, feel free to let me know in the comment section below. I'd be happy to talk to you about it and see what your opinions are, but that is definitely my pick. I hope you enjoyed this video, guys. If you did, please make sure to leave a like or a comment down below. As always, please make sure to subscribe as well to stay up to date on all of our awesome content. But with that, I'm gonna get out of here. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next Crack a Pack video.